Hi everyone, this is Teacher Mike, and in this video we are going to talk about Introduction to Computer Programming or Basic Computer Programming. I have made this video to help the beginners out there in the pursuit of writing codes or the beginning of learning this field of study, especially the students who are under the computer science and information technology programs who are enrolled in basic computer programming courses such as fundamentals of computer programming. I'll be straightforward in the video. I will try to make my discussions really easy to digest, and I hope you would like this video. Now, at the end of the video, I expect that you'll be able to describe what computer programming is and also identify the reasons why computer programs are written. So they're not only written or developed because of um, introducing some innovation, but they're also developed because of a computing problem that requires a computing solution. So the question now is, what is computer programming? Well, in its simplest sense, computer programming is simply instructing our computers. Now, we use our computers to perform some task, and for these devices to be able to do that, they need or they require a clear, correct set of instructions. So when we are giving our computers some sets of instructions, we need to learn and adopt and use a particular programming language that these devices understand. Because unlike human beings, when we try to ask someone to do something for us, then we give them instructions using our native language. The problem is these devices cannot understand our native language, and so we need to adopt a particular language that these devices understand. And we call them programming languages, and we'll talk about them in a short while. Programming is also a skill. That means it can be learned. And while learning, I highly recommend that you collaborate with your classmates or with your friends or with somebody you knew who is into computer programming as well. Um, Take some personalized learning as well. You go to online resources. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there who can help you hone yourself and also take personal practice sets that will help you develop your skill in computer programming. Now, programming is also a career and it is an ever trending career available around. It will continue to be in demand. It pays good. If you check online and do some research, you will be able to discover that programming career is a promising, thriving profession out there. And also, programming is problem solving. So along the way, we'll work with some problems and we will understand these problems and interpret them. And we'll also develop some algorithms that will help us um, map out the problem and be able to find the correct solution for the problem and then do some coding along the way. So in learning computer programming, you will discover that really uh, we are actually trying to solve a particular computing problem to be able to produce something that we call computing solution, and then we do that by writing the code and finally developing the program that will serve as our computing solution. So the next question now is, why do we write computer programs? Well, I can identify two reasons why programmers write computer programs, and I have initially talked about this in the video. The first one is because there is a problem, and what we mean by the word problem is a computing problem. So let's say, for example, a supermarket is currently um, recording sales transactions in a manual way, and let's say the volume of the transaction gets so high that they can no longer accommodate it using manual system. And so if we continue to use a manual system, then that will be inconvenient for the customers and also inefficient on the end of the cashiers because of the manual because of the nature of the manual system. And so to address that computing problem, then we introduce a computing solution by means of using a system or a program that will be used by the cashier in conducting or in recording sales transactions. And this is commonly called point of sale systems that you see in supermarkets. Now, the other reason is because there is an opportunity, and in this reason, uh, there is uh, there is not necessarily it's not necessarily a problem per se, you know. In other words, we've seen an opportunity for us to introduce some innovation. So games, for example, will fall under this category. You know, most of the games do not really address any computing issues or problems experienced by any organization out there. And so we only introduce them for entertainment purposes. So basically, these are the reasons why we write computer programs. Now let's proceed to the question, how do we write computer programs? Well, like I said, the first step is for us to be able to use or adopt a programming language. And a programming language is basically like a human language. Like I said, that our devices cannot understand, it cannot process our native language. And so we need to learn some programming languages first because these are the languages understood by our devices. Now, what you see on your screen right now are just two examples of the variety of languages out there that you can learn or teach yourself to learn. And these are Java and C Sharp. So Java and C Sharp are common and they are dominantly used in the discipline of programming. Java is platform independent. That means it does not really rely on a machine per se, which which means that the program that's developed using Java can run in Microsoft and it can also run in Apple devices. And we also have C Sharp developed by Microsoft. So C Sharp is best for Microsoft platforms or Windows platforms. But regardless of the two, in terms of principle, in terms of theory, in terms of discipline, these languages are the same. Now, like the human language, a programming language also has a grammar. And just like for human beings, if we try to communicate with grammatical errors, then the communication may be affected. Now, with that analogy, in the case of programming languages, we call this grammar a syntax. And if our grammar or our syntax is incorrect, then the language will not be properly processed or understood by our machine. And the effect is our program will not properly run. And we call that errors or bugs. Now, what you see on your screen is the language of Java and the language of C Sharp. So as you can see, they have slight differences, but they are in general almost the same. And regardless of the language, they yield the same output. And the output is simply to display the words on your screen, the words hello world. So really, in terms of principle, it does not really matter whether you try to learn Java first or C Sharp first, because in terms of theory and in terms of application, in terms of the discipline, they are just the same. Now, what you saw on the screen just a while back is what we call the source code, right? So it's the code of the language, meaning the language itself, which follows the right syntax. Because like I said again, if we miss the right syntax, then the code or the program or the language will not be properly interpreted or processed or understood by our devices. Now, take this analogy for example. Um, we see some instructions that we need to follow in order for us to successfully cook that recipe. Now, take that analogy and apply it in computer programming. If we miss to follow a particular instruction, if we miss to follow its correct grammar, or simply the instruction is just incorrect or does not make any sense, then we will not be able to come up with the exact output that we expect. So as following this recipe, if we miss to follow one instruction or a set of important instructions, then obviously the chicken recipe will not be successful as well. Now, we proceed to the question, where do we write our computer programs? Now, because we are developing a program or a software, then the answer is we need another software in order for us to do that. Now, these software are special software, and we call them integrated development environment. So it's also a program, and we use them. It's where we write our code or the language, right? And it's also where we test our language if the machine successfully interprets it or understood it. And so if it's successful, then another program will be created. Now, there is a particular IDE for a particular programming language. So that means if you try to learn Java, there is an IDE for Java or a program to be used in order for you to, take some practice while learning Java. And the same case is also true if you try to learn C sharp. So if you try to learn C sharp instead, there is also an appropriate program or IDE for that particular language. So in summary, we were able to define what computer programming is. We were able to identify reasons why people write computer programs. And finally, we were able to discuss some essentials in terms of starting out doing some computer programming. I hope the essential discussions are relevant and understandable. If you have any questions, comment them out. I will try to answer them as fast as I can, and I hope you like this video. Thank you, and uh, you can check out the next video after this one. Bye bye.